Hard conversations are exactly as they sound. They're hard. Even though we've had a bit more experience in these conversations, it doesn't change the weight of just how difficult they can be. When we have to have a hard conversation with someone, it can be anxiety inducing and take up almost all of our brain space. We tend to naturally think as humans that hard conversations must lead to bad outcomes. If this is how we feel, as people who've had more experience in these conversations, we can begin to imagine just how difficult these conversations can be for the college students we're interacting with. For many of them, this is the first time they're having tough conversations as they're beginning to form what are the beliefs and values they'd like to guide them as adults. They're learning what their own voice is, which can lead to conflict with people, things, and ideas they once held true. When a student comes to you for advice on how to have these conversations, it's important to do a few things. First, it's important to validate their feelings regarding the situation. Often, when they need to have a hard conversation, their feelings can be cast aside, which can stop them from having a necessary conversation. While our feelings aren't the final truth, they are a helpful guide to our views and values. Validating the feelings a student is having is important in helping them find their own voice and agency. Second, we can help them strategize. Often a student will come to us looking for an answer. Instead, it's important to help them find their way. We can do this by helping them come up with a game plan. With hard conversations, it's helpful to try to write out what they'd like to say. Even if a student thinks this is silly, it's important to emphasize that they do this. Often our emotions can take over so easily in these conversations that we miss the point of what we're really trying to say. And helping them prioritize what they'd like to say is key. It's also helpful because we don't want them to demonize the other person. Many times when we don't figure out what we want to say beforehand, we end up blaming a person rather than actually focusing on what our views are. This helps us use language that is firm but still graceful and kind to the other person. Third, it's important to remind them that it's a conversation. They may have a lot to say, but the person they're talking to also has a viewpoint. They can still get their point across while not overtaking the conversation. It's important to make space for both sides to speak so that it can actually be productive. And lastly, you need to prepare them for the fact that the conversation may not have the desired results they want. We can only control how we respond to something. We can't choose someone else's feelings or views. And while that's frustrating, it shouldn't be a reason not to have the conversation. Part of life is knowing your values and being okay with the fact that someone may not agree with them. That doesn't mean your values are wrong. It just means they're different from someone else's. We have to help students learn how to be in community with people we don't always share views with. We saw Jesus do this in his ministry on earth, and we're called to choose to love people even when we don't see eye to eye to them. Part of what makes a Christian's love radical is the fact that they choose love even after they've had a disagreement or a difficult conversation. Now, even though these conversations are difficult, a student came to you for guidance. It's important that we understand that and see this as an opportunity to help them find their own voice, view, and guiding values.